The poor campus beauty offered herself to exchange for. I paid for her grandmother's medical expenses. She endured the burden of serving me for 5 years. Every night, she begged for mercy, but I never spared her once. But suddenly, one day, I no longer felt warmth toward her. It was because I woke up. It turned out I was the villainous male supporting character in the novel. She was the female protagonist in the book. The male lead was her childhood sweetheart. According to the plot, he would soon achieve success and fame, and I would tragically perish at his hands. For self-preservation, I came to the fake service agency. Mr. Lee, the contract has been signed. As agreed, we will customize a fake service for you in 17 days. Does the fake body look like mine? Don't worry. The body will be customized according to your measurements. No one will ever suspect. Once I left, the butler, who had been waiting outside, hurriedly and respectfully opened the car door for me. The road was smooth without any obstructions. Finally, the car stopped outside the Liu family villa. This was the house I bought specifically to live with Shen Juxi. The villa's gate opened again. A graceful woman walked by. She wore a fitted dress in a self-color tone. Her slender figure stood tall like a pine tree. Her appearance was exquisite. Her aura, however, was indifferent, keeping others at arm's length. She leisurely adjusted her skirt and walked straight toward me. She grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the bedroom. Shen Juxin, wait a minute. What's wrong? No! Every day, letting the bed and you take me. Wasn't that the condition when you bought me? I don't need it for now. I'm feeling a bit tired recently. Then I'll go back to my business. Shen Juxin had indeed been very busy lately. She was preparing a startup project. It had reached a critical stage. Soon after, she received a call and quickly left the study. When she saw me still in the living room, Lin Wani paused her steps. If you don't need me tonight, I'll just leave. I have important matters to deal with. What important matters? Just for Zhang Wenchu. Lin Wani, you don't need to do this anymore in the future. You can leave now. You really don't need to do this anymore. Because I'm leaving soon. I'm a young heir from a prestigious family in Beijing. I have money, looks, and a great figure. I've done many absurd things, but the most absurd of them all was when I bought a girlfriend with money. In my first year at university, she was the most famous campus beauty. At Jing University, countless boys flocked to her like moths to a flame. Every day, the line of people chasing after her stretched from the school to other schools. But she was cold and indifferent. She treated everyone equally and rejected them all. She spent each day focused on classes and part-time jobs. I fell in love with Shen Juxin at first sight. All I wanted was to pick this elusive flower and make it mine. So when I found out that her parents had passed away, and she had been raised by her grandmother, and that her grandmother had been bedridden for years, she worked part-time just to pay for her grandmother's medical expenses. I made a deal with Shen Juxi. I would pay for her grandmother's medical bills. She would be my girlfriend. She would return home on time every day. She would be with me according to a set schedule, till I grew tired of her. At that time, her grandmother's condition was critical. She desperately needed a large sum of money to save her only relative. So, she agreed. Now, 5 years have passed. Shen Juxin and I have graduated from university and started working. But our relationship hasn't changed. Shen's grandmother's illness still hasn't been cured, and I haven't grown tired of her. She still lives in my villa. Her attitude toward me remains the same, still as cold as before. I wasn't angry. I just thought that as long as time passed, I would eventually be able to warm her heart. Until a few days ago, when I accidentally fell down the stairs and hit my head. That's when I accidentally woke up and realized that I was living in a novel. The female lead was Shen Juxi. The male lead was her childhood friend, Ding Ji. And I was just the villainous supporting male character. According to the plot of the novel, the startup project that Shen Juxin has been preparing would achieve great success in 17 days. Shen Juxin would become a rising commercial star because she would soar to new heights in the business world. And after her success, the first thing she would do is give me a large sum of money, then break up with me. but I wouldn't agree. I would cling to her and refuse to let go. Then seeing her growing closer to Dingji, I would feel jealous and torment Dingji. Eventually, Shen Juxin would utterly despise me, and I would meet a tragic end in the streets. I didn't want to believe such absurd things. I couldn't believe I would do such foolish things. But everything that's been happening recently, almost every single event is unfolding exactly as the novel goes. And Shen Juxin keeps leaving me for Dingji. I have no choice but to realize the male lead and the female lead, they were destined to fall in love. After torturing myself for an entire week, I finally figured it out. I couldn't gamble with my life to completely break free from the plot and to change my own final ending. I made my decision. I could no longer love her. I would fake leaving here, leaving Shen Juxi. Thinking back on what would happen in the future, I tossed and turned the entire night. That night, Shen Juxin didn't come back. I didn't call her to ask about it. The next day, I woke up early. After washing up, I went downstairs and ate breakfast alone. The villa was eerily quiet. Only the sound of me chewing and savoring my food. Till I finished my breakfast, the butler cautiously approached. All the servants had already been dismissed as instructed. I was going back to the old house today. Young master, do you really not need the servants anymore? No, I don't. I shook my head. Because soon I won't be here anymore. Seeing the butler's worried look, I didn't explain much. I just went upstairs, grabbed a letter, and handed it to him, telling him to make sure the letter reached Mr. and Mrs. Lee. I was afraid that once I left with my fake departure, Mr. and Mrs. Lee would be too heartbroken. So in the letter, I clearly explained that I was preparing to fake my departure. The letter clearly stated that after 17 days, I would go abroad, change my identity, and live in hiding, reassuring Mr. and Mrs. Lee not to worry. When the time was right, I would sneak back to visit them. I hadn't thought of taking my parents with me, but after all, they were getting older. Their livelihood was all here. Moreover, the fact that I had awakened was too absurd. I couldn't explain it in just a few words. They would think I was crazy. Also, if Mr. and Mrs. Lee disappeared together, I was afraid Shen Juxin would grow suspicious. So after careful consideration, I ultimately decided to leave my parents here and leave on my own. I arranged everything on my side and then started to handle things on Shen Juxin's side. After dismissing all the servants, I took some fruit and went to visit Shen Juxin's grandmother. I didn't act like a young master. Over the years, whenever I had free time, I'd visit Shen Juxin's grandmother. Every time, I'd bring her many things to make her happy, talk to her, keep her company, and even teach her how to use a smartphone. Without leaving home, I could see the world through my phone. So compared to Shen Juxin's indifference, Shen's grandmother really liked me. When do you and Juxin plan to get married? When Shen's grandmother brought up this question again, I didn't feel the usual embarrassment on my face. Only a bitter smile remained. How could we get married? Not to mention that in 17 days, I would be leaving. Even if I didn't leave, it would probably still end the same way as in the original story. Shen Juxin loves Dingji. How could she possibly marry me? Seeing me stay silent, Shen's grandmother sighed, but still tried to comfort me. I know, my granddaughter, Juxin does have feelings for you. It's just that your relationship started on impure terms. She must have a wall in her heart. As long as that wall is removed, you two will surely be able to be happy together. I listened to Shen's grandmother's comforting words and forced a smile. I knew the plot of the original story, and I knew that the person Shen Juxin has loved from the beginning is only Dingji. The female lead only loves the male lead. How could she fall for the villainous supporting character? In the end, I still didn't say anything, nor did I refute Shen's grandmother's words. I just took out a card Grandma, whenever you have the chance, please pass this card to Shen Juxin for me. This card was originally meant to be my early preparation for Shen Juxin's startup fund, but I hesitated on how to give it to her, fearing it would hurt her pride. Now that I've awakened to reality, and I've already decided to leave, I'll let Shen's grandmother pass it on directly. I hope that Shen Juxin will remember me a little, so when I fake my departure, she won't do anything too extreme toward me. Shen's grandmother immediately noticed something was off with me. With some concern, she spoke up. Did you and Juxin argue again? I shook my head. No, we didn't argue. I just need to go to a very far place soon. Before I could finish my sentence, a cold voice interrupted me. Where are you going? To such a far place? I quickly turned around and saw Shen Juxin, who was glaring at me with a dark expressio, standing next to her. I shifted my gaze and casually found an excuse to brush it off. I'm going on a trip soon. In Shen Juxin's eyes, the two things I loved doing the most were 1. Sleeping with her. It's just about traveling around the world. So when she heard my answer, she softened her expressio and didn't ask any further. She casually sat beside Shen's grandmother with Dingji, unobtrusively pushing me to the farthest side. You have no idea. Juxin is so stingy. On the way here, I just wanted an ice cream, but Juxin wouldn't buy it for me. You should have a word with her. Dingzhen started complaining as soon as he sat down, pouting and voicing his grievances. Shen Juxin glanced at Dingzhen helplessly. Her words, though a rebuttal, were filled with care for him. Well, you've forgotten your stomach condition, a guy, and still dared to eat something cold. I don't know how you survived the last time you had that stomach pie, saying you'd never eat ice again. Who was the one who told me to keep an eye on you? Dingzhen chuckled, winked at her, and her eyes were filled with nothing but affectio. There were clearly 4 of us in the room, but as soon as Shen Juxin and Dingzhen arrived, she only had eyes for him the whole time. I, being pushed to the farthest corner, watched the natural and harmonious atmosphere between them. I couldn't help but give a self-deprecating smile. It's like this, a guy. Among them, I'm always the outsider. But I'm no longer as upset as I used to be. This time, I've let go of everything. I've let go of Shen Juxi, and I've let go of all my love for her. I've completely returned her to the male lead. Shen's grandmother noticed the fleeting loneliness in my eyes. Then she looked at Shen Juxin, who was intentionally ignoring me. She sighed quietly to herself. Juxi, Xingyu, I want some grapes. Could you go wash some for me? When Shen's grandmother spoke, neither Shen Juxin nor I refused. She picked up the fruit basket from the bedside, and we both walked out of the room, one ahead of the other. But just as we stepped out the door, her hand suddenly grabbed mine. I was still a bit stunned. Today, she actually initiated contact with me. In the next moment, I heard her cold words. You should visit grandmother less in the future. I may have sold my package to you, but not my grandmother. In just a few words, she turned my thoughts into a joke. My heart tightened slightly. If this were before, at this point, I would have hurriedly explained that she had been very busy recently, that Shen's grandmother was old and lonely, and I had no other intentions. I just wanted to spend more time with her. But now, I just lowered my head, my voice calm. Okay. After speaking, I didn't wait for her and directly headed toward the water room. Not like before, when I would always insist on walking with her. Watching my retreating figure, Shen Juxin felt a strange sensation rise in her heart. Since yesterday, my actions seemed to have changed. After washing the fruit, Shen Juxin and I returned to the hospital room. We chatted for a while longer. Then the doctor prepared to leave. Just as we stepped out of the hospital, Dingzhen spoke up first. Juxin, Mr. Li, it's almost time for dinner. How about we go eat together? Shen Juxin naturally wouldn't refuse Ding Zhen's suggestion. As for me, perhaps not wanting to make Ding Zhen uncomfortable with my young master attitude, before I could speak, she answered for me. After arriving at the restaurant, we followed the waiter into the private room. She readily took the menu and started ordering. But it wasn't until all the dishes were served that I realized she had ordered all the dishes Ding Zhen loves. Perhaps this was the difference between love and indifference. Even though I had once asked her to remember all my preferences, one was forced, the other was thoughtful. A stark difference. Fortunately, I had already guessed this result from the start, so I wasn't too disappointed. I just silently ate my meal. Without saying anything, a sudden, sharp ring of a phone echoed in the private room. Shen Juxin walked outside with her phone. But I froze for a moment when I saw the ring on Ding Zhen's pinky. Where did you get that pinky ring? Ding Zhen glanced at the pinky ring, seemingly unaware. He smiled and answered, "This? Juxin gave it to me. I said it looked good, and she just gave it to me." As soon as those words left his mouth, my face immediately darkened. That pinky ring was something I had painstakingly crafted for a long time, cutting my hands and leaving scars. Finally, on the day of their anniversary, I gave it to Shen Juxin as a gift. It even had a small inscription inside. Li Xingyun will always love Shen Juxin. I bared my heart and poured all my love into it for her. But she didn't care at all. She casually gave it to Ding Zhi. An inexplicable anger surged in my chest. But in the next moment, the plot of the original story appeared in my mind again. Shen Juxin's true love had always been Ding Zhi. So naturally, she wouldn't hold on to something I gave her. If I were to dwell on these matters right now, wouldn't it make Shen Juxin despise me even more? It was as if a bucket of cold water was poured over me, and I instantly calmed down. I composed myself and gave a slight smile. Very nice. You two suit each other well. Ding Zhen had been waiting for me to lose my temper, but instead, I calmly closed the chapter on this issue. His eyes flickered with confusion. He gritted his teeth, suddenly stood up, and eagerly ladled a bowl of soup, handing it to me. "Mr. Li, don't just bury your head in the rice. This seafood soup is really good. You should try it." I'm allergic to seafood. I was about to refuse, but then I noticed Ding Zhen hadn't handed the soup to me. Instead, he twisted his wrist, and with a loud bang, the soup bowl smashed to the ground. He looked at me with eyes full of grievance. His eyes reddened, and his expression was one of barely suppressed tears. Before I could react to what Ding Zhen was doing, Shen Juxin darted past me like the wind, shielding Ding Zhen behind her. Immediately, her cold, icy gaze fixed directly on me. "Li Xingyun, what are you doing?" Ding Zhen, with his red eyes, stood behind her. He spoke up just in time, adding fuel to the fire. "Juxin, it's all my fault. I must have angered Xingyun Jie. That's why Xingyun Jie threw the soup at me in anger. I was just burned. It's nothing. It's okay. Don't blame him." "I'm not blaming him." I heard him twisting the facts, and immediately widened my eyes, wanting to explain clearly. But she ignored me, gave me a cold glance, and then said, "Li Xingyun, you're really unreasonable." And then, without saying another word, she grabbed Ding Zhen and left. Watching her cold back and Ding Zhen's smirking gaze, I stood there, my heart sinking to the lowest point. And what I didn't expect even more was that over the next few days, Ding Zhen seemed to realize how useful this tactic was, and started accusing me relentlessly, saying that I had caused him to lose his job, or that I had ordered the entire industry to blacklist him, and even claimed that I had hired people to throw paint at his house, making his life miserable. Shen Juxin endured time and time again, but eventually, she couldn't take it anymore. When we got home, she grabbed me by the arm. "Li Xingyun, if you have any grievances, come at me. Why are you targeting Ding Zhen?" After 5 years, Shen Juxin had always treated me coldly, But this was the first time I saw her so emotionally exposed. Yet it was all for Dingji. I'm not targeting him. Those things aren't things I did. I tried my best to explain, but she still looked at me with disbelief. Who else could it be if not you? You've done things like buying a girlfriend. What else are you capable of? Don't let there be a next time. I've given you everything. Why can't you leave the people around me alone? After saying that, Shin Juksun looked at me with eyes full of disappointment and refused to say another word to me. She went straight to the guest bedroom. I watched her leave and forced myself to suppress the sadness in my heart. In her eyes, I would always be the one she couldn't trust. But aside from the sadness, what troubled me more was panic. I only had a few days left before I would leave. But if this continued, I might not even make it to my fake departure day. Shin Juksun might have me completely ruined first. I tossed and turned in bed the whole night, thought about it from every angle, and finally came up with a solution. That night, I drove to Ding Zhen's place. Ding Zhen, let's make peace. From now on, I will help you and Shin Juksun get together. Hearing this, Ding Zhen looked at me in disbelief, his eyes wide. What are you talking about? Ding Zhen knew better than anyone how much I liked Shin Juksun. Otherwise, how would I have been willing to pay for Shen's grandmother's medical expenses for 5 years? How would I have kept helping her, even after being coldly dismissed by Shin Juksun time after time? But now, here I was voluntarily coming to him and telling him I wanted to help him and Shin Juksun. Hearing his doubt, I shook my head. I'm not talking nonsense. I sincerely want to make peace with you. You don't need to keep trying to frame me. I don't have much time left. I'm going to leave Shin Juksun soon. You don't need to treat me as a rival. My expression wasn't fake, but Ding Zhen still didn't believe me. He was suspicious that there was some kind of trap. I didn't care whether he believed me or not. I just went ahead with my actions. The next day, I stopped Shin Juksun when she was about to leave and handed her a Universal Studios ticket. I bought the tickets for tonight's Universal Studios. Come with me. I've been busy with projects lately. She looked at me coldly, and just as she was about to refuse, I interrupted. When we made the deal, you agreed. Aside from the nightly obligation, you can't refuse any of my requests. In one short sentence, I shut down all her objections. She frowned, took the ticket, but her footsteps quickened as she walked away. I watched as her figure slowly disappeared. I picked up my phone and found Ding Zhen's number and dialed it. The call was quickly answered. Neither of us exchanged pleasantries. I got straight to the point. The tickets I just sent. You received them, right? I gave the other ticket to Shin Juksun. Make sure you dress nicely today and try to improve your relationship with her. Ding Zhen didn't expect that I was actually serious about helping him and Shin Juksun get together. He responded with a half believing him, just as I was about to hang up the phone. He suddenly spoke a guy. Why are you helping me? The question came through the phone into my ear. I paused for a moment, but in the end, I didn't answer. You don't need to know this. Just do as we agreed. I'll help you too. And you just need to stop framing me. The call ended. I stared at the fading screen of my phone, lost in thought. But the question Ding Zhen had asked kept echoing in my mind. Why are you helping me? I wasn't helping Ding Ji. What I truly wanted to help was myself. Moreover, the person Shin Juksun truly loved had always been Ding Ji. I was just speeding up the original plot. And at the same time, I was leaving myself a way out. When night completely fell, I received a message from Ding Ji. It was their selfie. In the photo, Ding Zhen was looking at the camera. Shin Juksun was looking at Ding Ji. Her eyes filled with tenderness and sweetness, a look I would never see when she was alone with me. After being together for 5 years, I had asked countless times for a picture with her. Every time, her response was the same. It was only when she was with the person she loved. That's such a principle. Could be broke. I kept scrolling through the photos, and one photo in the middle caught my attention. The background was a restaurant. In front of her were shrimp that had been peeled, and a pile of shrimp shells. Thinking back to the years we spent together, every time we ate shrimp, I would peel them for her and put the shrimp meat into her bowl, but she never peeled them for me. Looking at these moments of warmth I once dreamed of, I stayed silent for a long time before typing out a message and sending it. Not bad. You two are quite a match. Dingson had always thought I was doing these things with another intention, and had sent these photos on purpose to provoke me, to get me to reveal my true purpose. But this message, full of blessings, made Dingson realize he completely didn't understand me anymore. The chat window went silent. The other side is typing. It stayed on for a long time. Dingson revised his message countless times before finally sending one sentence. What you said yesterday, is it true? Do you really plan to get me and Juxin together? This time, I replied quickly, with just one word. Yes, from now on. Shen Juxi is yours. I thought I would be happy when Shen Juxin came back today. But when she pushed the door open, she still had the same cold expressio. Her tone even carried some unknown anger. Li Xingyun, what do you mean today? What are you trying to do? I confused by her attitude, but still explained. It's about the tickets. I had something to do and couldn't go, so I gave the tickets to Dingson. After that, I eagerly asked, did you have fun today? Did you ride the couple's Ferris wheel? Did you go to the haunted house? If you didn't have enough fun, I have 2 more tickets. You and him can go again tomorrow. Shen Juxin couldn't figure out what my intentions were. She stared at me for a long time. I looked at her with a sincere expressio, as if I really couldn't find the time, and had to give the tickets to her and Ding Ji. After a long pause, she finally relented. She went straight into the room. This time, it was a success. I followed up and continued creating opportunities for them. For example, I invited her to a couple's restaurant. But as soon as we sat down, Dingson walked up to us, his face full of surprise. Juxin, what a coincidence! Before she could say anything, the waiter came up just in time. Sir, ma'am, this year is our restaurant's anniversary. You're the 52nd couple to enter the store. We'll give you a pair of couple rings and take a couple photo for you. Just as the waiter finished speaking, I suddenly stood up. I suddenly don't feel well. I'll leave first. Seeing me get up to leave, Shen Juxin hurriedly stood up to follow. But I seemed to remember something and turned to look at her. Winning is a good thing. It would be a pity to waste it. Juxin, why don't you and Dingson go instead? After speaking, I didn't wait for Shen Juxin to respond, and quickly left the restaurant. I drove off at full speed, leaving Shen Juxin standing there, and Dingson excited, pulling her to claim the couple and rings take the couple photo. Then, for example, when a college friend organized a reunion, I insisted on dragging Shen Juxin along. Only when we arrived did I realize Dingson was also there. At the end, I took the initiative to push Dingson in front of her. Take him home first. I'll just take a cab back. By the way, there's no need to rush back. He drank too much. Stay at his place and look after him. After saying that, I unceremoniously shoved the car keys into her hand and walked straight to the roadside to hail a cab. After a few such instances, Shen Juxin finally noticed the anomaly. During this period, she kept encountering Dingson at various occasions and at different times. And each time, I would leave alone, leaving her with Dingson. It was as if I were pushing her towards Dingson. A few days later, after Shen Juxin returned home drunk from a social gathering, she saw me lying on the bed, seemingly asleep, and without a word, went straight to the bathroom. When the sound of water started, I suddenly opened my eyes. glanced at the closed bathroom door, hurriedly took out my phone and dialed a number. Come to my villa now. 20 minutes later, Dingson knocked on the door of the Lee family's villa. I quietly came out and opened the door for him, then handed him the satin nightgown I had just found. Put this on. Sleep in the master bedroom. Dingson listened to my words, looked at the nightgown in my hand, seemed to understand something, and felt his heart racing, as if it were about to leap out of his chest. At my urging, he came to his senses, hurried upstairs, changed into the nightgown, and lay on the bed. Dingson had just lain down for a short while, when the bathroom door was suddenly pulled open. Shin Jukson, wrapped only in a bath towel, was walking out while drying her hair. She looked up, and her gaze froze when it met the figure on the bed. Perhaps she realized it had been a long time since we had fulfilled our initial agreement. She took a few steps forward and naturally embraced him from behind. Her voice still carried a hint of drunken hoarseness. My period's over. Dingson hadn't reacted yet to what this meant, when he felt the position behind him slightly sink. A scorching breath brushed against his neck, and a soft, boneless hand suddenly appeared on his waist. The burning body temperature made him shiver involuntarily, and his breathing began to quicken. A soft laugh came from behind. Dingson could barely withstand such moments. He couldn't help but let out a muffled groan. Just that one sound, and Shin Jukson immediately froze in her movements. She suddenly pulled away, her voice full of disbelief. Dingson! In the living room, Shin Jukson sat on the sofa, while Dingson, draped in a blanket, sat beside her. His face was filled with embarrassment. Her face was as dark as ink, her gaze fixed directly on me. I hadn't expected her to notice so quickly, and I couldn't help but feel a bit guilty. But I still found an excuse to try and cover it up. Ding Zhen's house had a power outage, so I let him stay here for the night. Then why is he sleeping in the master bedroom? Shin Jukson clearly didn't believe my excuse, and continued to press me. I hesitated for a moment before answering. The guest room wasn't ready. I thought since it's just for one night, I'd let him sleep in the master bedroom. Her gaze was filled with anger, her chest rising and falling sharply. Clearly, she was very upset. She didn't believe my explanation. But now, the most important thing was to send Dingson back. She forced herself to suppress her anger and said nothing more, silently pulling Dingson and leaving. When Shin Jukson returned, I had already gone back to the bedroom. At this moment, the room was just the two of us. Her anger was no longer contained. Shin Jukson had long noticed that something was wrong with me during this time. And now, in this moment, she couldn't hold it in any longer. Lee Xingyun, what exactly do you want? How? Is there another new way you want to torture us? Her unmasked words stunned me. I hadn't expected she would think like this. It felt like someone had struck me heavily in the chest. Painful. Suffocating. I was just thinking I needed to. The words spilled out of my mouth. Luckily, in the end, I regained my composure and didn't blurt out everything I had in mind. Her gaze was heavy, and she continued to press me. What do you want? Tell me. After a long silence, I finally spoke again, but didn't answer her question. Sorry. I thought you'd like it. My apology became the final straw, igniting the fire of anger within her completely. You're always so self-righteous. She coldly threw down this sentence, and with a heavy atmosphere, she turned and left the bedroom. I watched her back as she left, faintly understanding something. I guess so. She's still mine now, with her character and principles. Even if she liked Dingson, nothing would happen between them. Fortunately, there are still 3 days left, and everything will be over. I gathered everything in the villa related to Shin Jukson. What I could throw away, I threw away. What I could burn, I burned. I made sure everything was dealt with completely, from the various photos of her debates and speeches in college, to the matching couple mugs I bought for her, slippers, sleepwear, and the talisman I had gotten for her. Every single item was a proof of my affection for Shenjuxin. When I burned it all, the last thing to go was the love letters I had written to her. I tossed each letter into the fire, but my thoughts involuntarily drifted to the past. In the beginning, I did pursue Shenjuxin in a normal way. I even spent 3 whole months writing 99 love letters, but the end of every letter was her rejection. Later, when I saw her struggling with medical bills, I came up with this plan. That way, she could accept my help, and I would get what I wanted. Maybe I was wrong. True love cannot be bought with money. As the novel once said, the female lead Shenjuxin only loved the male lead Dingzin. Thinking of this, I no longer felt any attachment. I tossed the last love letter into the fire. The door opened, and Shenjuxin had just returned. Her eyes immediately fell on the colorful envelope I had thrown into the fire. She hadn't seen the contents, but she was very familiar with the envelope. It was the love letter I had once given her, which she had rejected every single time. She felt before her mind could process it. The question slipped from her lips. "What are you doing?" Through the blazing fire, I looked at Shenjuxin's stunned face, and I felt strangely bewildered. But after a moment, I still answered her question. "Burning things. These things are useless, so I burned them." Shenjuxin felt uneasy in her heart. She could sense the changes in me over this time, and I kept doing these strange things, although she didn't want to confront me. When the words came out, she began to become relentless. "Yes, you've gotten everything you wanted. Naturally, these things are useless now." In the past, Shenjuxin had often mocked me. Each time, I'd feel sad. But this time, to my surprise, only calmness remained in my heart. It would all end soon. A sentence without beginning or end made Shenjuxi feel a strange unease. She didn't know what I was up to again. She didn't stay any longer. Or did she care about the things I burned? She went straight upstairs to the study. I still sat there, motionless, watching the flames consume the last love letter until it turned to ash. The flames, no longer supported by anything flammable, could no longer rage. In the end, they were extinguished in the dust. Shenjuxin, from now on, forget this painful memory. Forget about me, the evil male supporting character. You and I should both start fresh lives. The next morning, when Shenjuxin was getting ready to leave, I called out to her. "Tomorrow is our 5th anniversary of being together. I've booked a cruise. Come with me to see the sea and the sunset." I always act on impulse, hoping this time I wouldn't cause any more trouble. Shenjuxin, thinking this over, only gave a cold hum before heading out. I felt like the day passed very quickly. Soon, it was the day we had planned. Indeed, the day I pretended to leave. I took extra care to dress up, and then took Shenjuxin with me to the booked cruise. The view from the cruise was beautiful. The sunset's golden rays spread over the sea and the cruise. The warm orange light bathed me. The sea and sky blended together, forming a breathtaking scene. Shenjuxin gazed at the view, a flicker of something unusual crossing her eyes. But in the next moment, this rare peaceful atmosphere was interrupted by the sudden ring of her phone. When I turned to look at her, she was already talking about work on the phone. I knew she was busy with her project. In just a few hours, her project would go live. Once it went live, it would blow up completely. This was the turning point in her life. "Shenjuxin, if you had money, what would you do?" I asked. But Shenjuxin had already hung up the phone. Hearing my strange question, she only answered Lee, "Do what I want to do." When she said that, there was no extra expression on her face. It seemed like she was just responding casually, but looking at her face, which had never shown a hint of warmth towards me, I couldn't help but think, once you become wealthy, the first thing I'll do is get rid of you. But Shin Juksun, this time I won't trouble you to do it. On the deck, the waiter began serving the dishes in an orderly fashion. Soon, the table was filled with exquisite dishes. The sunset by the sea was left with only the final half of the sun. Shin Juksun and I sat opposite each other at the table. I looked at the exquisite food, but had no appetite. And she looked at me, as usual, speaking only sparingly. It wasn't long before Shin Juksun's phone rang again, breaking the silence between us. The screen lit up and the name, Ding Zhen, flashed on it. She still answered the call. As soon as the call connected, Ding Zhen's tearful voice came through the phone, clear and audible to both of us. Ju Din, yeah, I had an accident. Can you come to the hospital? The moment Shin Juksun heard this, she frowned. She turned to look at me. I also quietly put down the fork in my hand. I heard it. Do you want to go? She didn't hesitate. We can celebrate the anniversary anytime. I didn't speak, just calmly watching her. Seeing my expression, her heart inexplicably began to race. From childhood to now, she had always been frighteningly calm, but this was the first time she had felt out of control. So, she added, rare for her. The anniversary. We'll celebrate next time. After saying that, she picked up her phone and stood up. I watched her hurried figure as she rushed off the cruise ship, OT stopping her from making her choice. After a long time, I muttered to myself, Shin Juksun, there won't be a next time. I watched the sunset alone. The last rays of the sun were hidden beneath the sea. The lights on the cruise gradually began to glow. A staff member boarded the cruise and walked straight to my side. Mr. Lee, everything is ready. Hearing the voice, I didn't turn around. Still gazing into the distance, I wondered how I would slip and fall into the sea. In an hour, the news would spread. Afterward, my body would drift on the sea for 3 days and nights. Before being found by the police, they would confirm my death. The staff member informed me of the procedure. I nodded, having no objections. After everything was arranged, I turned and got off the cruise ship. I took one last look at the city, then put on the prepared hat and mask, and shattered my phone's SIM card. Without looking back, I walked toward the direction of the airport. Shin Juksun, this time, I'll personally send you to your male lead side. And I, the evil male supporting character, will completely exit your world. Shin Juksun returned to the villa 3 days later. She had a long-awaited smile on her face. Ding Zhen's injuries had improved. Her project, which she had worked on for so long, exploded in popularity once it was launched. She could finally step into high society on her own. OT as the poor student who once had to sell herself just to pay her grandmother's medical bills. Her pocket was filled with the first payment she received after her project went live, and she was preparing to return it to me when we met. Once our debt was settled, she would be able to hold her head high in front of me. But when Shin Juksun opened the door, the villa was empty, silent and still. Usually, I would be waiting for her in the living room when she returned, but this time, I was nowhere to be seen. A strange feeling crossed her mind. For some reason, her heart felt empty. She thought back to my unusual behavior during this time. A sense of unease began to grow within her. Was this another of my methods to torment her? She couldn't be sure, so she took out her phone, intending to send me a message. But at that moment, a news alert popped up on her phone's homepage. Recently, the only son of the richest family in the city, the Lee family, has gone missing. Not long after, a body was found floating at sea. Police have confirmed the body to be that of Lee's son. The cause of death is still undetermined. The short headline struck Shin Juksun like a thunderbolt. She could hardly believe her eyes, but her hand, seemingly out of control, clicked on the news article. The photos that circulated wouldn't be very clear, but she still immediately recognized the body. She widened her eyes, trying to find evidence that the body wasn't mine. But the more she looked, the more alarmed she became. The body's physique, the clothing, was exactly the same as mine when we left. He had died. She had to see it with her own eyes. If she didn't see my body, she wouldn't believe that I could have just died like that. Her feet moved as she rushed out. She was only a few steps from the door, but almost stumbled several times. She had intended to drive herself to the police station, but when she tried to start the car, her hands were trembling so much she couldn't even hold the keys. In desperation, she walked further and hailed a cab to the police station. The car quickly arrived at the police station entrance, and for a moment, she felt a little hesitant. She didn't know